20, 30 years. With my leadership, I guarantee that those capital investments will be smart investments.
Mr. Armstead.
Well, there's no question that a lot of our infrastructure has deteriorated in this town. What we need to do is develop a 10 or 20-year plan and figure out how much money we're going to need to spend and capitalize it and move forward. But there's no easy fix when you have a town as old as Linden. All you can do is go a little at a time, and you must have a plan that will address it over a long time span.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hale, could you address a question to Mr. Puzio?
Mr. Puzio, you so far tonight have been saying that you are going to make change, but you haven't really given any suggestions as to how you're going to get ratables to the city of Linden. Can you give us some examples, please?
Absolutely. The best example I can give is, for the first example that I can give is ensuring that the proper types of businesses are brought in when we do have those decisions before us. The best example is, instead of bringing in a super Walmart, which provides below minimum wage jobs to people who aren't necessarily from Linden, we could be building a medical trauma center, which would use the helipad at the airport across the highway, would ensure that we wouldn't have more trucks on the roads and highways, and that we would have people with educated people with college degrees able to have the discretionary spending to spend in local businesses so that those businesses thrive and continue to stay here. Moreover, I would propose building a startup alley. One of the sectors of the U.S. economy which is growing exponentially is new startups, new small businesses that work in technology.
Thank you. Ms. Cosby-Hurling.
Yes, ma'am. How we get ratables in this town is we have to market. Right now, we have a Linden Economic Development Corporation, which is being led by a former policeman. That's the problem. We need to get professionals here, people who can understand our town, who know Linden. We sit in the middle of New York City, Jersey City. Again, we have a transit hub here. We have a great deal of potential. We need to work with people, organizations, and I have relationships with people already. We've built relationships. I'm working with Roselle. I just talked to the mayor about doing things here that can help both sides of St. George's Avenue. We need to be realistic, and we need to be ready to go day one. My running mate and I have already created relationships by which we can bring in engineers and other companies that can create structure and bring jobs to the city of Linden.
Mr. Armstead.
There's two things that we can do here. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the first thing we have to do, we have to address some of our construction code ordinances. First of all, we have a height restriction in Linden of 26 feet. We need to change the height restriction, and we need to allow homeowners to make changes to and repair their homes and not be penalized. We need to give them a tax abatement for upwards of 10 years so their homes will still be assessed as they are right now, so that they aren't overtaxed. We don't need to punish them for making changes. The other thing we need to do is we need to take our existing structures that we have on like St. George Avenue, and we need to try to develop special improvement districts just like we did on Wood Avenue. Sometimes you just can't go ahead and have these massive developments come into town. You have to work with what you have. Okay? The same way we did a special improvement district on Wood Avenue, the same can be applied to St. George Avenue. A typical example is if you look at the Dunkin' Donuts owned by a gentleman in Roselle, look across the street, he has the Zumba Club. He's done a tremendous job at changing the facades. Now, I own property a few feet down, and he and I have been working with the other property owners to try to create what we call our own special improvement district that doesn't have city oversight, where we as property owners will make the changes and make things look nice.
Thank you. Mr. Hayden, can you address the question to Mr. Armstead?
Certainly. Currently, the city has a full-time mayor. I don't know. Do you think that's necessary? And how would you handle the office if you get elected?
Well, let me say this. the office of the mayor is a full-time position. As a council member, I feel like I'm working a full-time job. I believe that our prior mayor, Gregorio, our current mayor, Rich Gabunka, and any future mayor should view that position as a full-time position, even though it's listed as part-time. You have to spend a full day in office. There's just so much work that has to be done, and it's a full-time job.
Ms. Cosby-Hurling.
Thank you. All of the elected officials here in Linden are, on paper, part-time. I'm currently a councilwoman who actually, I believe I work well over the part-time hours, which I would do and continue to do as the mayor. However, you must have a team of people prepared and ready to go and work with you. That's why the mayor has an aide, the mayor has a secretary, and we have so many department heads. The mayor must be able to work with everyone. Delegation is one important skill that any leader must possess, and I believe I have that.
Mr. Puzio, can you address it?
I do believe it's actually a job that requires a full-time, dedicated person. Someone like me, who has worked in the private sector, understands a demanding job, a job that, you have to constantly be attentive to. I believe that I have the experience and the know-how to be constantly attentive to this position. So, considering, the incompetence and the level to which this city has seen a decline over the last 8 years, I think it definitely requires someone who is going to treat the office seriously and give full attention to it. And I promise, with me as mayor, that will definitely happen.
Ms. Cosby-Hurling, 30 seconds.
Yes, ma'am. We've had 8 years of a mayor who's there from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m., and we still haven't gotten a rateable since Sam's Club. You need a mayor who cares about the city and a mayor who actually has business sense, but someone who actually can be where they need to be in the city when the time is right. We have council members who are here running for mayor, but oftentimes you call them and you don't get a call back, even when you're working on the same committee. We need people who are committed to this city. I'm a person who's committed to our town. I work very hard, and I will continue to do that with your support for mayor.
Thank you. Another round here. Ms. Hale, could you address a question to Mr. Puzio? Oh, no?
I already did.
You did? Okay. Let's see
I've
then.
done that twice with
Address one to Ms. Cosby-Hurling. It's a new round.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cosby-Hurling.
I'm just starting with you.
you're starting with,
Question for
Yeah.
Cosby-Hurling?
yeah, I need a minute. Can you?
Okay, then
Thanks.
Ms. Russell, do you have a question?
Okay, sure. And who
could
am I
you-
addressing it to? I'm
Let's start with Mr. Puzio.
Mr. Puzio. Okay. I've covered Linden for a long time, and there's always been concerns about the area along St. George's Avenue with Roselle, in particular, a lot of drug traffic, a lot of crime. What plan, I guess I'm asking, do you have for that area?
Mr. Puzio.
So, yes, I agree that that area, it deserves more attention. My plan would be to ensure that we look at new solutions and alternatives in terms of how we police high-risk, high-crime areas. The costs of hiring more and more police officers clearly are not sustainable. We already have problems with keeping the amount of police officers that we have right now. That's the reason why we had the issue that we had last year. If we ensure that we have a sustainable budget, if we ensure that we look at alternative solutions that actually look at making sure that we survey and police those areas effectively, potentially setting up cameras, perhaps, we can ensure that those areas become less crime-prone.
Thank you. Ms. Cosby-Hurling?
Yes. Mayor is essentially responsible for the police department. I have enjoyed a relationship with the police department since 2006 when I started a neighborhood watch in the area of which you speak. We actually had a relationship with Roselle. We had a joint patrol, which we've lost under this mayor. We've had instances where the police would come and they would get out the cars and they would do foot patrol. We've lost that luxury. We need to bring back community policing programs, and we can do that. How we can do that is we need to get the managers in the police to have the right captains, the right lieutenants, and then we can bring in the foot patrols, because you know why? It's in the budget. We have a budget this year that we can actually hire police, women and men, to cover and make sure that they're there when we need them, not just in the instance of emergency. The crime actually has gone down because we have more patrol in that area, sector cars, and we need more citywide.
Mr. Armstead.
Well, there's no one solution that fits all when it comes to crime. You know, as I mentioned earlier in my career, I am a proponent of cameras, okay? I believe that if you're not doing anything illegal, you don't have anything to hide. There are some who disagree. The technology is as such that you can hook up a camera right to a cable signal. I believe that we have to partner with our homeowners, our local businesses, and schools, just so that we may monitor our city a little bit better. We can all be the ears and the eyes of our community. We can provide the police department great assistance when we're watching. Time and time again, you turn on a television set and you see where somebody has committed a horrendous crime in New York, and they catch the individual on camera, okay? Whenever there's a crime in our community, the first thing the police do is look for a camera to see if there's an extra set of eyes that have been there.
Thank you. If not, can we move on? And do you have a question for Mr. Armstead?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let's go for it.
Mr. Armstead, it's been widely reported, and by me, that this year you did not pay your taxes. And residents of Linden struggled to pay their taxes, and I know that you did pay your taxes, $40,000. However, at 12:30 today, you had not yet paid your sewer tax, which you sponsored, which you voted for. Can you give us an explanation why, when residents have to come up with this money and it's a strain on especially the senior citizens?
Well, let me just say this. First of all, I own several properties in town, okay? Some of which have been in my family for years, okay? We have some of our family members and some of our friends who really can't afford to stay in some of these properties, and we can't afford to raise their rents because they're family, they're seniors. On 1829 Southwood Avenue, I purchased a lot, two 25-foot lots that were generating approximately $600 a year in taxes because they were non-conforming lots. I put them together, okay? Since then, the city has received $115,000 in property taxes on that one particular lot. 626 Union Street, I purchased a condemned building that was only drawing $1,000 a year in property taxes. That's 2005. Since 2005, that property has generated the city over $80,000 a year. 734 Harrison Place, a house that I own. It was a one-family house. I raised it, tore it down, okay? If I had left it there, the city would have taken in $35,000 since 2006. But instead, since 2006, they've collected $70,000. 516 Carnegie Street.
Mr. Armstead, I know it's hard, but I'm going to have to stop you.
Mr. Armstead, you didn't explain to me why you didn't pay your sewer tax as of 12:30 today.
516 Carnegie Street.
But that's not answering my
$28,000
question.
would have been received.
Why you didn't
And
pay
we-
your sewer tax that you sponsored?
We'll give Mr. Armstead 30
6,000
seconds to answer sewer tax.
6,000, how much do I owe in sewer tax?
You should know that better than me, Mr. Armstead. You get the bill.
You told me I didn't pay it. How much could a sewer tax be?
It doesn't matter
Okay.
how much it is.
1207 Lincoln
It matters
Street.
that you didn't
We
pay
had a
it.
condemned house there.
Did these people pay their sewer tax?
$10,000.
Okay.
If we left it, we
Sorry.
paid over $50,000 since we redid that building, and if we had left
You
it
haven't
condemned,
answered my
it
question.
would have been
Enough.
$7,000. So we are investors in this town.
Well, you better invest in
Thank you.
paying your sewer tax
We are-
because
Thank you.
those
Ms.
people are
we are
Ms.
paying.
Hale
investors in this
and
town.
Mr. Armstead. Thank you. No more crosstalk, thank you. I know it's difficult. I'm going to ask you, Ms. Cosby-Hurling, your thoughts on personal tax payments.
It's a struggle for all of us here in Linden. I'll be the first to admit that it is very difficult. However, those property owners here in town, like myself, who have mortgages, we don't have a choice whether or not we pay our taxes. We have to pay them. So we don't decide what we pay and what we don't pay. While I did not vote for the garbage tax, I paid it. Councilman Armstead voted for it and he didn't pay it. That's unfortunate. Unpaid taxes, what they do is they lead to service cuts in public safety. If I'm elected the mayor, I'll make sure that our department managers will aggressively pursue tax evaders. It's
Mr.
very
Cruz-
important. It's a violation of the public trust. You're collecting a check from the same city, and you're not paying your fair share of the taxes.
Would I pay over
Thank you.
$40,000 a year?
And later, Mr. Puzio, would you comment on payment of personal taxes?
Absolutely. Payment of taxes is key to ensuring that the city actually has revenues to work with. So there is no excuse for not paying your taxes or not paying sewer because essentially the government can't function without the money that you pay. It's the bond that we all agree to participate in. I've always paid my taxes. I've always paid the different fees that we are required to pay. And I believe that, for example, the garbage fee was essentially part of our tax. After spending over $40 million in surplus, it wasn't enough. The people who were on council, they went ahead and said, well, here's also a garbage fee since there's a cap. And in essence, over $1.7 million was what was raised in taxes last year. When I'm mayor, I want to make sure that we don't have those types of tax increases.
Ms. Cosby-Hurling, you want 30 seconds?
Yes, please. The garbage fee is a slick way of going around the 2% cap. I did not vote for that. I don't think it's the right way to go. When we get a new leadership in City Hall, our first job is going to be to sit down and look at a way how to get rid of, repeal the garbage tax. There's other ways of bringing in revenue. There are other cost savings that we can have, not on the backs of our taxpayers.
30 seconds, Mr. Armstead.
I would be very interested to see if anybody could put forth an idea how we could eliminate the garbage tax. We all talked about the garbage tax, but no one put any ideas forward how we could eliminate it. Aside from that, I reiterate my point. When you don't pay your taxes, they put a lien on your property and they take your property. I don't have any outstanding liens on any property in town. I mean, I may have paid it later a time or two, but there are no liens on any property owned by Derek Armstead in this town.
And thank you. Now we're going to go to Mr. Hayden for a question, and could you direct it to Ms. Cosby-Hurling, please?
Sure. This could be a little bit broader, too. You're running for the Democratic nomination. All three of you have different amounts of experience within the local government, some longer than others. Could you say how, well, at the same time, the residents of the city for the last two mayoral elections have chosen an independent? How are you, as a Democrat, going to reach out with your experience? And is your experience, have you been there too long, or you haven't been there long enough? Can you talk about that and how that's going to work for you in reaching out to all the residents if you win the nomination?
In 1 minute.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I've only been on council for 3 years, and I've been making a lot of differences in my community. I've only been here for 3 years, and before I got here, there was not an ordinance that would protect our children. Now, every time someone wants to work in the city of Linden and they work with our children, they're required to get a background check. That wasn't here before I became a councilwoman. We also have a hiring policy that says all city jobs have to be publicly posted if they're not promotional opportunities. That was not here before I got here. The way I'm trying to reach out to the community at large is to get my record out there, a positive, progressive record. People who have been here for many years can't tell you what they've done or accomplished in all that time. I've only been here a short time and done a lot. And my goal is to reach the Democrats at large with my teammates. I'm running with George Alvarez, Gretchen Hickey, Monty Brooks, and we're running on column A, the endorsed regular Democratic column, and we together will get the word out.
Mr. Puzio, could you address that?
Yes. To begin with, I'm from Linden. I've lived my entire life in Linden. If someone doesn't know me, I'm sorry. This is a town of 41,000 people. It's very large. And so it's easy to, be looked over, especially when it comes to different positions for committees, for, let's say, the Development Corporation, which I applied to and was not chosen. But I have other types of experience. I am trilingual. I speak Polish, Spanish, as well as English, obviously. And I have worked as a financial analyst and an economist at Bloomberg LP. So I think that beyond working on council and working for the county, as other people have done, I think there's notable experience that someone such as myself will bring that will ensure a victory for the Democrats this fall.
Thank you. Mr. Armstead.
Yes, well, my family has been in this town for 90 years, and with any luck, we'll be here for another 90 years. My father's 84 years old. He was born in a house right here in Linden. We don't have any problem reaching across lines, be it ethnic, religious. Everybody knows the Armstead family. They know we're decent people. Mike says he speaks a couple of languages. I do too. And I'm very proud of my association with the various families in this town. And when I ran for mayor, it was those families who came out and supported me. Again, I won the Democratic primary against a whole lot of money, and I nearly won the general election against a whole lot of money, and I have every intention on winning again. And I will represent all in this town. And the Armsteads have been a family who's gotten along with all and everybody in this town, and will continue to do so.
Ms. Cosby-Hurling, 30 seconds.
Yes, ma'am. Again, I'm just going to ask that all of the Democrats for the June primary check our records and see what each of us as Democrats have done to better the life of our community here in Linden. It's not about osmosis or how long you've been here or where you were born. It's about what you have and what you can do. And I believe that I've done a lot. I care about our town, and that's what's most important. And I am reaching out to the Democrats at large, but I can only be in so many places at one time, so I'm depending on my teammates. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Puzio.
I would
30
actually,
seconds.
Thank you. I would actually disagree with that point. I think showing the fact that someone is willing to sacrifice living elsewhere, somewhere that might be more advantageous to that person, proves the fact of how much they care about their community. I've worked as a Democratic committee man, and I've worked as a political activist on different issues in this town for the last few years. And I'm willing to stay here. I want to live here. I want to make sure that this town is better for my kids when I have them. I want to make sure this town is better for the people that I know and I've grown up with, the people that I can call my neighbors and friends.
All right. That's the end of the questions, and I really do want to thank the reporters for their cogent questions, and we're going to now go on for the closing remarks, which are 2 minutes for each of the candidates. And I would like you to summarize what you bring and why they should vote for you instead of the other two. And we're going to go in reverse order. So the first speaker this time will be Michael Puzio. 2 minutes, Mr. Puzio.
So in my closing remarks, I would just like to say that ensuring that we have objective leadership in the future is key. As this race has shown, there is leverage that people are held that is held against them because they work for the county or for the city. Ensuring that we have a mayor that doesn't work for either ensures that we actually get the things done that work towards our interests. I'm someone who is a progressive Democrat. I am qualified because I have a college education. I'm someone who has roots in this town. I'm not from Newark. I'm from Linden, New Jersey. I'm someone who believes in the future of this city and its affordability and its sustainability. We are going to face such hard issues in the future. Everybody knows that the revenues at the state level aren't doing well, and we're going to get the brunt of that. We're going to get the brunt of global warming because of storms like Hurricane Sandy. We're going to get the brunt of more crime because of what's going on. And I want to make sure to bring the new solutions, the new vision that is necessary to make sure that Linden is a town that everybody wants to live in the 21st century. Thank you.
And thank you. And next will be Roshana Cosby-Hurling.
Thank you very much. And thank you again to the Linden Democratic Club, the Board of Education, the League of Women Voters, and the distinguished journalists here tonight. Residents, we appreciate your time and coming out just to hear us tonight. The city has been going on a downward spiral for the past 8 years, even longer if you consider how many times people have been here. We need change, and we have to work together. We can continue to be on the path that we are on, which is regular tax increases, dysfunction at City Hall, diminished service cuts. Or we can work to improve our city. We cannot pay for trash. We weren't paying for a garbage tax before. That's not the way to go. Our taxes are already inflated. As the mayor, my job will be to chart a new path for Linden, a better path for Linden. Working with the council members, we have to rein in the property taxes. As the mayor, I'm going to chart a smart course for redevelopment here in our town. Unlike the current administration, who continue to ignore relationships, I have a history and I've proven that I can build private and public relationships. Here in town, I was able to get a nonprofit to service our community, bringing computers to the rec center, bringing education to the children and to the families. We need someone who's willing and able to work with other folks here and get Linden back on the right course. For far too long, we've had employees told, you have to do more with less. That's not fair. We need to bring in more efficiency in the departments, bring in training for these employees, and that's going to help our services. We, again, can make Linden a community that people want to live in, they want to work in. And my job as mayor would be to work with everyone to get that done. I'm running with George Alvarez, Column A Democrats, and we hope to have your support. Thank you.
And thank you. The final speaker is Derek Armstead.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming. One thing I'd like to say is whenever you have a problem, you have to figure out where it started. And to fix it, you've got to turn it around, undo the things that you did. Here in Linden, several years ago, we began allowing our public workforce to live out of town. Under our current Democratic leadership, our Democratic chairman, they hire teachers who don't live in town. Now, I know there's a time when you can't find a qualified teacher when they're specialized, but I think the true way to turn the town around is to start with its residents first. I won't rest until every position that's available in this town is offered to a Linden resident first. That's everything from our janitors, our teachers, our police officers, our firemen, our maintenance workers. You cannot rebuild a town without putting its people first. And that is the problem here in Linden. We've allowed too many of our public workforce to live out of town. We're going to rebuild Linden. We've got to start with its people first. And I will be committed as a mayor to making sure and ensuring that every qualified person who applies for a position who lives in Linden will be given first consideration. I go throughout this whole town. I see names of people who I've known all my life, Chaybacks, McGee's, who've applied, young women and men who've gone to college, who live in this community. But when they come to apply for a job as a teacher in our own town, they can't get hired. And I will